Back in the King of Fighters 98 video, I mentioned that I've always been a Street Fighter fan. Now, this wasn't always the case, and I never really became a fan of Street Fighter until around 1996. But once that happened, I followed the series since then. Even to the point where I felt like I was the only one who knew that Street Fighter 3 even existed. I was really excited when Street Fighter 4 was announced, and I actually own every single iteration of that game for at least one console. At least one console? Actually, it might be at least several consoles. Anyway, the point is, I love the series. And finally, I returned to the franchise that put the fighting game genre on the map. Can I let you in on a little secret, though? Yeah, come here. I still suck at it! Street Fighter V was released a few weeks ago on the PlayStation 4 and PC, to much anticipation. Sporting 16 characters and a slew of new mechanics, this new entry for the franchise attempts to evolve the Street Fighter formula even further. I have to admit I found it a little odd that they were even making a Street Fighter V. After all, Capcom seemed to be happy to continue their upgrade syndrome malarkey with Street Fighter IV. But who cares about all that? On to the good stuff! The 16 fighters sport a mix of old and new. 5 of the original 8 World Warriors make their return with either no design changes at all, or some really drastic ones that actually work. Bosses Vega and M. Bison return, as well as Super Street Fighter II stalwart Cammy. The rest of the returning cast strike me as either odd or finally well placed. Birdie, Karin, Armika, and Nash, whom most people are going to remember as Charlie, are called up to the roster from the Street Fighter Alpha series, not having been seen in the franchise since Street Fighter Alpha 3. The new characters are kind of neat, and I do like their designs, for the most part. Laura is the new woman on the roster, taking advantage of the women's MMA phenomenon happening today. She uses a mix of modified Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu along with some rather odd use of static electricity. Rashid is the one I jokingly call the Joe Higashi clone, using a mixture of fast moves and tornadoes, just without the Muay Thai and constant yelling. I can't put my finger on Nikali, but he's the new Power Warrior, almost literally. The only one I don't really like too much is Fang, whose design seems out of place compared to the other 15 characters. He's the new Assassin of Shadowlow, taking the place of the now absent Sagat in the organization. I have to say I like this art style. It's still a little too cartoony for my tastes, but this is Street Fighter, not an MMA promotion. All the 16 characters are definitely distinct in their look and moveset, but it's very easy to flow from one character to the next. I think this game plays a little more slowly than any of the Street Fighter 4 installments, and I actually like this. Capcom added a few mechanics to the mix, such as the V-trigger and V-reversal setups. But the one I really like is the fact that chip damage can be caused by any type of hit, not just special moves and critical arts. Now yes, this may seem cheap, but I like the little bit of realism that they've added just by making regular punches and kicks still damaging. Because I don't care what you say, even if you block or check a punch or a kick, it still hurts. May not hurt just as much, but it still hurts. The online portion of this game is very good. Despite the initial hiccup of the first day, everything seems to have smoothed out. I haven't had too many issues with lag, and players, for the most part, seem cooperative on the lower tiers. I've been doing some streaming with Street Fighter V, and it's nice to see that even the added load of the stream from the PlayStation 4 doesn't affect the gameplay. Even my sucky skills seem to be pretty decent here, and diving headfirst into the rank matches isn't intimidating to me at all. The matchmaking, while a little wonky, seems to work pretty well. Now, this is fine and dandy and all. I mean, it's great, but we need to get to the elephant in the room. Problem is, this game just doesn't sit right with me. And it's because it's very, and I mean very, incomplete. This lack of, well, everything else is very jarring. Two major features, the store and the challenges, do not work out of the box. All you really have is a story mode that's extremely short, not to mention it doesn't have much story, and a survival mode that's merely padding. Now, say what you want about how Street Fighter is largely a one-on-one multiplayer experience. I agree with that. But arcade units and retail releases have had a single-player arcade experience since day one. And Street Fighter V doesn't have this. The story mode is really a 2 to 3 fight experience, and the whole thing can be steamrolled through in about an hour. Granted, this is with my skill level, and some people may have faster or slower times, but I'd say an hour to go through all 16 characters is not good. It's very clear that Capcom put this game out very quickly to capitalize on one thing: the upcoming fighting game tournament season. With EVO around the corner and the fact that Capcom is promoting their own pro tournament, the early February release of Street Fighter V was designed to get the game into players' hands so they could be ready for the upcoming season of tournament fighter playoffs. I'm glad they thought of one audience, but the rest of us suffer for this, and it makes for a bad, not to mention expensive, home release. It also makes the arcade market suffer, as a complete lack of a single-player arcade mode makes it impossible to bring to that audience. But this is just a pokey video game review show involving retail releases, not me complaining about the business strategies of video game publishers. So now it just comes down to the question on everybody's mind. Is Street Fighter V worth your cash? I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this game at its full price of $60 at all. The severe lack of features, along with what seems like a plan to rush the game out for pure promotion's sake, forces me to not recommend that you buy this game at all in its current state. I can't say I don't enjoy the game, because I really do, but spend money on this? No, this feels like the beta everyone talked about several weeks ago. This game will not drop in price for a while, so if it somehow ends up on sale for $20 or $30, which I doubt, then jump on it. Otherwise, my recommendation is to wait. It sucks because I really wanted to be excited about this iteration of the franchise, much in the same way Street Fighter IV excited me when it came out in 2009. Now, I will do an update in about 6 months because I really want to see how this game evolves. Yes, new characters will be out by then, but by that time, the store and the challenges should finally work, and we'll also be getting that animated story feature in June. Thankfully, all of this stuff is going to be free. Well, the characters you're going to have to buy, but at least you don't have to use real money to get them. While this initial release was disappointing, I am optimistic about the future of Street Fighter V. Not want off the chair. This is going to be a problem. Let me work on the rascal. Come on, get off the chair. Get off the chair. You'd think it'd be easier now that I've actually clipped some of your claws. Okay, good. Good cat. Good cat. Okay, now go away. Go away. Now I'm gonna... Dag nabbit.